Let's get right into it. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're looking at a totally paradigm-shifting concept, one that completely redefines humanity's impact on Earth. We're going to examine exactly how businesses, and really our entire economic system, urgently need to adapt if we want to survive on a finite planet. Let's dive in. So, think about this for a second, because it is arguably the most critical question of our time. Are we actively undermining the very biological and geological foundations that we literally depend on for our well-being and our economic stability? For decades, we've kind of just treated the Earth like it's this infinite resource pool and, well, an infinite sink for our waste. But the science is telling us loud and clear that those days are absolutely over.
Section 1. The safe operating space. Okay, so to measure our impact, we first need a baseline, and that baseline is called the Holocene. The Holocene is a remarkably rare 10,000-year period of incredibly stable climatic conditions. During this super fragile specific window of time, key atmospheric and biogeochemical parameters only fluctuated within very, very narrow bounds. So why does this matter? Well, because this exact beautiful stability is literally what allowed humanity to invent agriculture, build complex societies, and eventually create the modern global economy. It is, for all intents and purposes, our planetary safe zone.
But here's the kicker. We are no longer in the Holocene. Actually, scratch that. We've propelled ourselves right into a completely new era, the Anthropocene. Just contrast that comfortable 10,000-year stability we just talked about with our current reality. Human pressures, which have obviously accelerated massively since the Industrial Revolution, are now the dominant force shaping the planet. We are starting to totally overwhelm the Earth's natural buffering capacity. Basically, we are the meteor now.
Section 2. 9 planetary boundaries.
Back in 2009, scientists introduced something called the Planetary Boundaries Framework. I want you to think of this like the ultimate dashboard for humanity's safe operating space. Just like your car has warning lights on the dash for engine temperature or oil pressure, the Earth has these distinct, measurable life support systems. And these systems dictate whether our planet actually remains hospitable for our modern economies.
All right, so here are the 9 specific boundaries on our planetary dashboard. Now, you're definitely going to recognize climate change and stratospheric ozone depletion right off the bat. But the framework goes a lot deeper than that. It tracks biosphere integrity, which basically means biodiversity loss, along with land system change, freshwater use, and biogeochemical flows. That last one is things like nitrogen and phosphorus runoff from our fertilizers. It also monitors ocean acidification, atmospheric aerosols, and, crucially, novel entities. Novel entities is essentially a catch-all term for synthetic chemical and plastic pollution. All 9 of these systems interact in some really complex, deeply connected ways to regulate our planet's overall health.
Section 3. Crossing the thresholds.
7. This right here is the massive, really alarming hook of our current reality. Out of those 9 planetary boundaries, as of the latest 2025 scientific updates, humanity has already crossed 7 of them. We have blown right past the safe operating space in 7 critical life support systems.
When you actually look at the math, comparing the safe pre-industrial limits to our 2025 reality, the overshoot is pretty stark. For climate change, the safe boundary is 350 parts per million of CO2, but we're sitting at 423. For novel entities, those synthetic chemicals released without proper testing, the safe limit is 0. We are well above 0. And most recently, in 2025, ocean acidification was officially documented as the 7th cross limit, driven down by rising carbon absorption in our oceans. On the flip side, though, stratospheric ozone actually remains one of the very few boundaries we've managed to keep in the safe zone. And that's largely thanks to coordinated global action, like the Montreal Protocol.
And listen, we aren't just talking about a slow, predictable degradation here. The true scientific danger is the risk of triggering non-linear tipping points. If you push the system too far, it abruptly reorganizes itself. These interconnected Earth systems can experience sudden shifts that completely alter their foundations, potentially entering a state that is deeply hostile to our current way of life. It's a risk we really can't afford to take.
Section 4. The business blind spot.
For years now, corporate sustainability has been kind of trapped in what we might call carbon tunnel vision. The old way of non-financial reporting focused almost exclusively on carbon emissions and short-term financial materiality. But as we just saw on the dashboard, climate change is only one of 9 boundaries. The new way demands a much more holistic approach. It means integrating all drivers of nature degradation, everything from freshwater change right down to chemical pollution. Because honestly, if you don't do this, you end up with a very dangerous corporate blind spot. Failing to track these wider environmental dimensions means your climate risk assessments are inherently unreliable. Think about it. If a business only tracks CO2 but relies heavily on freshwater systems that are literally on the verge of collapse, or maybe they have supply chains threatened by crashing biodiversity, they are drastically underestimating their systemic risks. And that, of course, leads to entirely misinformed investment decisions.
Section 5. Operating within limits. Okay, so here is where the paradigm shift actually happens. Meet the Earth System Impact, or ESI score. This is a brand new, science-based metric designed to be the ultimate translation tool. It directly connects local granular business operations, like, say, a single factory's water usage or agricultural runoff, to the macro global effects outlined in the planetary boundaries framework. Basically, it shows exactly how a single business contributes to the whole entire picture.
And this actually builds into a very pragmatic 3-step strategy for businesses. First off, you've got to prioritize your data collection beyond just carbon. Start tracking your chemical output, land use, and your water footprint based on your specific sector. Second, apply the ESI score to translate those local data points into their global context. And third, use that localized to global data to develop precise, highly effective strategic plans that actually keep your operations within the safe operating space.
And hey, this isn't just for the corporate operators. It is a total game changer for investors too. By using a tool like the ESI score, investors can transparently see the real specific areas where a company must improve. It allows capital allocators to understand the amplified, interconnected effects of their portfolios across climate, land, and water. Ultimately, this empowers investors to accurately assess true systemic financial risk, making highly informed decisions that actively help our global economy thrive within the planet's finite limits.
So we have breached 7 of the 9 boundaries that keep our societies safe. We've got the data, we have the dashboard, and now, with tools like the Earth System Impact Score, we actually have the means to translate this complex science into direct business action. The ultimate question I want to leave you with today is this: can humanity innovate fast enough to rebuild the boundary walls we've already broken down? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you next time.